you gave us, Lord. We just enter into that with you today. And I'm going to bring Christy and Dan up here. Oh, you're both coming.
Sure. Yay. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jared. Two thoughts. I love that we get to enter into his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. And so I'm just so grateful that we all get to come together and we are entered into his courts together as a family. And then there was a line in that song that said he loves like a hurricane. And recently we've had so many disastrous hurricanes hit our country. And it's been all over the news, and it's all that really anybody can focus on, especially in those areas. And when we think about God and how his love for us is like a hurricane and how it just takes over everything, there's no missing it, there's no denying it, there's no avoiding it. It comes into our life and it sweeps us up in so much goodness and love that it's overwhelming and all-encompassing. So I just love that we can ponder that and just hold that in our hearts. So it is our privilege, even though I'm doing all the talking, it is our privilege to have Shaleen Kendrick come up tonight and speak to all of us and what she has to offer. Shaleen is probably the most dynamic and authentic person I've ever met. I've had the privilege of being in her environment just a few times, but every time it's just, she brings something to this atmosphere that is undeniable and so wonderful. So I'm excited that we all get to experience that. Nursery for 0 to 3-ish, right? We have a nursery available just out and to the left, if anyone wants to drop off kiddos that way. And then at some point, Shaleen will be dismissing the kids, and they will come with me, again, out and to the left. So, and that's for 10 years old to the 4-year-old age. So let's welcome Shaleen. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so am I on? Yeah, here. I'm going to steal that back in a second, if that's okay. Yeah.
You don't want it to go anywhere?
No, don't take it too far. Do you need it? Okay, yeah. No, leave it around. Yeah, that's perfect. So one of my favorite churches in Flagstaff, they have this tradition, and they start every service by praying for another church. And in true Kendrick form, we steal all good ideas. We often, we highly believe in not reinventing the wheel. We just steal someone else's wheel and we roll with it. And so I want to pray for this church, but here's the fun part. I have no idea what their name is. So here I'm going to give you, set it up a little bit. Sam and I went to this, it was a couple years ago. It was like this Catholic conference. I think there was a bunch of nuns and priests there. Most of the crowd was much older than Sam and I, and a friend of ours was doing worship there. And we walked into this like unassuming hotel. Remember this? I don't even know. It was like somewhere in Deep Mesa or some strange town, who knows where. But we walked in, and the entire crowd is decked out with flags and ribbons, and they are just legitimately going crazy. Like, I have never seen worship like this in my life. And Sam and I, in true cool kid form, stood in the back mocking them, shamelessly mocking them for a good, would you say an hour? Maybe longer. I don't know. It was like a 3 or 4 hour thing. So Sam and I stood in the back saying all kinds of bad things about them, how we are so much cooler than they are, and we couldn't believe how dorky they were with their flags and their ribbons and this or that. And what is so funny, as we were mocking them, I don't know how it happened, but we kept edging up closer to like the front, right? So we're like making fun of them, way too cool for school, like we reverted back to our high school days. But we're like sneaking up, kind of just, you can't make fun of something unless you're close to it, right? So we kept getting closer and closer, and then the next thing I know, I'm not sure where or how the transition happened, but somewhere in the middle of it, I had a ribbon and was dancing around in the front with some leaps, and I look over and my husband has a flag and he's waving it left and right, and I remember grabbing my phone and taking a video and being like, oh my gosh, this is such a quintessential open mouth insert foot moment of how easy it is to stand back and to make fun of something, especially for you little kids. When someone's doing something that looks strange or funny, it's so easy to stand there mocking it, and what a joy it was to lay lay down some of our cool defenses, and to lay down what we looked like, and to lay down our opinions, and to lay down our thoughts, and to shift our perspective. I know this church, one of the things I love about this space is we talk so much about perspective, and to shift our perspective into getting to be free and weird and dorky and strange and different, getting to be different. And so anyhow, we love the Catholic Conference so much that we've crashed it like 3 years in a row. Like, we're not invited, just so you know. So we have to like sneak past registration. We do one of these, like, we're supposed to be here, yeah, give me my flag. So anyhow, I haven't been to a place like that in really since. And so as I sat here and I watched my son run to the back and grab a flag and start to wave it, I was so reminded of that moment and how beautiful it is that God willing, he won't grow up with the same prejudices and the same mockery and the same cool kid vibe. But I love that all of these kids and all of you adults are willing to be weird and different and strange and out of the box. And so I'm going to pray for that community. Who I really don't remember. Do you remember what church it was? But Lord, that's the sweet thing, is that you know, God. So whoever they are, thank you that you use them to teach me, God, and to heal me from my need to be cool and my need to put on airs and my need to be arrogant. And thank you, God, that you freed me from that, freeing, I should say, in the process. And thank you, God, that you've created this space to mimic that, Lord. This is a place we get to be different and weird and strange, Lord. And one of my friends in my tribe, she always says, where our freak flag gets to fly. And so I love that this is a place for that. In your name, Jesus. Thank you for that crowd, and thank you for this crowd. Amen. Okay, so if you are considering yourself a non-adult, okay, so look, that I didn't say an age. It can be anyone, anywhere. Grab your chair and scoot it up. So grab your little chair. Come on, grab them, scoot. Come on, grab your chair. You guys back there, grab your chair and scoot them on up to like right here, okay? Grab your chairs. Yep, scoot on up right to where Caden is and Mason. Great job. Just scoot them on up. There you go. Everyone up. Perfect. Oh, I like it. Front row seats. There we go. Great job. Come on up. Come on up. Okay. And you know what? You guys can even sit on the floor too. You don't even have to have a chair. Why have a chair when the floor, the concrete can be so comfy? Way to go, Cricky. All right, here, I'll scoot you back right here. I have a perfect little spot for you. All right, so come on up. We're going to have family story time at the moment. Yes, I know. Who doesn't love stories? So as you guys just come this way. Bring your little bodies this way. Yeah, come on. Yeah. All right, so one of the things in the Kendrick house that we have a family motto, okay? And our family motto is, Caden, do you know it? What's our family motto? If you get nervous, you can read my arm. Go.
Love God, love others, and be a great man or woman.
Yes. Oh, is this not on? Okay. Dan, is this one on? Oh, push the button. Gosh, dang it. All right, fine. All right, one more time. Read it. What's our family motto?
Love God, love others, and be a great man or woman.
Yes. Love God, love others. We tattooed it on ourselves. My husband has one too. So hot. Sorry, he gets so mad. I'm sorry, babe. I couldn't resist. It's so fun. So here's what we did. We decided to streamline parenting, and so we realized that most of everything we do falls into one of those categories. I use it all the time for myself. I use it all the time with my kids. Love God. Man, almost all of life falls into that category. Love others, picking up your room, cleaning up the dishes, respecting your teacher, listening to a friend, introducing yourself. I mean, almost everything else from interpersonal falls into loving others. And then be a great woman or be a great man. Mason, do you want to share what it means to be great in our house? Yes or no?
Fine.
Okay, what's it mean to be great? Because the whole thing hinges on this definition, right? Definitions are key.
I forgot. Hear God and follow him.
Right. In our family, to be great means to hear God and to follow him. And so we talk a lot about hearing God in our house. And so I thought I would start with, I'm going to set up with We haven't seen any burning bushes in our house. We talked about this at my tribe, is that I haven't stood in front of a bush that is caught on fire. But one of the things that have been so liberating that I have, one of my favorite authors had just, I read this in his book the other day, and it was so free, is he was talking about the burning bush, not from a literal perspective, but from a figurative perspective. And he was talking about finding the divine in the ordinary. And so if you read it from a literal perspective, then that only happened in that time, in that place, to Moses, right? It was very set for him and him alone. That was, he alone saw the burning bush. It was meant and designed for him. That's literally what happened. But one of the things I love about God is he talks in so many different layers. He's not just literal, but he's also figurative, which figurative can be art, creativity, expression. And figuratively, where this author had said, what if the burning bush was a figure of speech? What if it was something way more ordinary? And what if it was his hearing God in his heart or in his mind? What if it was more of an ordinary thing? And he goes, if it was more of an ordinary thing, then really what that would mean is every ground you're standing on is holy ground. Like if it was figurative, then that would mean that every place you go is holy ground. Every place you go, God, the voice of God is speaking to you. And so we've talked a lot in our house of how do you hear from God? Because I've not yet met anyone else, or really anyone that has seen a burning bush, but I believe in my soul that God is talking all the time. And so in our house, one of the things we figured out is that we really believe that God talks to your head and to your heart and in all the things around you. That God is talking all the time through everything. A lot of times psychologists call this self-talk, right? And so in our house, we call it your thoughts. What are you thinking right now? And here's how we're learning, and I put the ing because we are for sure in process on this, but we're learning that hearing from God, we can do the smell test, okay? So when your thoughts smell like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, then you are having a conversation with a burning bush. That you really are. It's holy ground that you're standing on, and the voice of God, you are interacting with who God is, the nature of God himself, and you're speaking. And it sounds like just your thoughts. And then conversely, when you're doing the smell test and your thoughts smell like shame, blame, or fear, you are having a conversation with God's enemy. So when you, in our house, a lot of times this happens, right? When we blame each other, right? Or when we want to tattle on someone, or we want to shame someone else, all of a sudden what we get to do as parents, and we get to see, oh my gosh, Caden, you are having a conversation with God's enemy right now. We do not want that. Let's shift your perspective and let's hear what God has to say about this situation, right? So we often try to shift voices, going, who are you agreeing with? Because when you agree with the voice of the enemy, and when your thoughts and actions are in line with shame, blame, or fear, what's the result of that? What's the atmosphere in our house when we're blaming each other? Horrible. It's sad. Layla, what's the atmosphere in our house when we're telling on each other? When we're trying to get people in trouble? Horrible and sad, right? So in the Kendrick house, we're working on shifting the atmosphere. One of the things that we talked about in my tribe, for those of you that were here, Elizabeth talked about words having energy, right? Like if you should do this. It's such a cool science experiment. I think, Stephanie, was it you or Jen that talked about water? Like words and water. I think, no, it was you, right? So one of the things, yes. So she was telling us about this science experiment we're totally going to do in our house, that if you stand with water and you talk evil or bad over it, what is it? It's ripples?
Molecules look ugly, but if you talk good, they look
right.
So you can do it with plants.
You can do it with plants, yes. So there's this scientific energy, and so much of science shows you that your words have energetic power attached to it. So in our house, we're learning how to hear the voice of God and how to live in an atmosphere of love and joy, peace, patience, all of that. And so one of the things that's helping us with that is our favorite, I shouldn't say our, it's for sure my favorite book. Okay, so this is Max Lucado's You Are Special. So kids, I thought we would have a little bit of story time up here. Do you want me to read you a story? Yes? All right, I'm going to cruise through parts of it. Kaden, you want to come hold it for me while I read, or you want me to read it?
I want to.
You want to help too? All right, you can come up too. Come on up, baby. Okay, So Caden's going to hold it while I read, and Cricket is going to just stand and be cute, because that's what 4-year-olds do, huh? Okay, so this is our favorite book, and I'm going to cruise through the story. And if you guys can't see the pictures, do you guys want to come up and sit here so you can see? If you can't see, you can get closer. Do you want to get closer? You can move at any time, okay? All right, so the Wemmicks were small wooden people. All of the wooden people were carved by a woodmaker named Eli. Eli's workshop was high on a hill that overlooked the village. Each Wemmick was different. Some had big noses and some had large eyes. Some were tall and others were short. Some had hats and others wore coats. But all of them were made by the exact same woodcarver, and they all lived in the same village. And all day, every day, the Wemmicks did the same thing. They gave each other stickers. Each Wemmick had a box of gold stickers and a box of gray dots. So they had a box of gold stars and a box of gray dots. They would go up and down the streets all over, and all they would do is stick stickers on each other. The pretty ones with their smooth wood and fine paint got lots of stars. The ones that weren't weird or strange or flying flags, they got lots of gold stars. But if the wood was roughed or the paint was chipped, well, that Wemmick would get a gray dot. The talented ones got stars too. Some of them could lift the big sticks high above their heads, and they could jump on tall boxes. And still others knew really big words or pretty songs. And they would get gold stars. Some Wemmicks got stars all the time. They had stars covering their entire body. Every time they got a gold star, it made them feel so good. It made them want to do something else to get another star. Others could do very little at all, and they got dots. Punchinello was one of these. He tried so hard to fly high like the others, but he always fell. And when he fell on the ground, guess what would happen? Everyone would gather around him and give him gray dots. And this made Punchinello so sad. And then he would try to explain why he fell, but every time he tried to explain, his words would come out silly and they wouldn't understand. And so guess what they gave him more of?
Dots.
Gray dots, exactly. After a little while, Punchinello had so many gray dots that he felt very sad. Sometimes people would walk up to him and give him gray dots just because he already had so many. They assumed if he had so many, well, surely he deserves them, so we should just give him a few more. So Punchinello walked around very sad. Every time he went outside, he kept getting more gray dots. So Punchinello learned to stay inside. He did find when he hung out with other little Wemmicks that also had gray dots, that made him feel a little bit better. One day, when he went outside, he met a Wemmick that was unlike any other Wemmick that he ever had. Her name was Lucia. And guess what was different about Lucia? Do you know what was different?
She has no dots or stars.
Winner! Right there! Lucia had no dots and no stars. In fact, she had no stickers at all. And then he said to her, it wasn't that people didn't try to give her stickers. In fact, people tried to give her stickers all the time. Some people tried to give her gold stars just because she didn't have stickers. And some people tried to give her gray dots because she didn't have stickers. But the strange thing about Lucia is that the stickers just wouldn't stick. Isn't that strange? So Punchinello said, well, why don't your stickers stick? I don't understand. What are you doing different? And she said, I don't know. They tried, everyone gives me stickers, but they just won't stick. And Punchinello goes, but I don't understand. Why won't they stick? She shrugged her shoulders and she said, Tucker, what'd she say?
She said,
He's like, I gotta get closer. You can do it. Here, read it right here. The highlighted part. Every day I got a... You're close. Go see Eli. Oh, you gotta get closer. Okay, come on up. Every day I go see Eli. Great job! So every day I go see Eli, she would say. And then he goes, well, how do you know that? And then Punchinello said, well, do you think I should go? And I love Lucia's response. Lucia says, well, I don't know. Why don't you go find out for yourself? I feel like that's a key lesson. Why don't you go find out for yourself? And so Punchinello walked away, and he sat there, and he thought, yeah, hold it, go still. Thank you. You're doing awesome. And he said, well, I wonder if Eli would want to see me. He sat and he worried, wondering, what if Eli doesn't want to see me? And then he wondered, what if he does see me? So he was in conflict with himself. He wasn't sure what to do. Go see for yourself, exactly. So the next morning, Punchinello went up and he went to go see Eli. He walked all the way up the narrow path to the hill, and he stepped into one of the big spots. And the wooden eyes stared around, and he looked at all the big things. And all of a sudden he heard a loud, deep voice saying, Punchinello. Punchinello stopped. How did Eli know his name? The voice said, Punchinello, how good to see you. Come here and let me have a look at you. Punchinello turned around slowly, and he goes, how do you know my name? And Eli said, of course I know your name, Punchinello. I made you. Eli stooped down and he picked up Punchinello and he set him on his workbench, and he goes, looks like you've been given lots of bad marks, lots of bad stickers. And Punchinello said, I didn't mean to get them. I tried really hard not to get them. And then Eli said, well, you don't have to defend yourself to me, child. I do not care what any of the other Wemmicks think. And Punchinello said, you don't? No, and you should not either. Who are they to give you stars or dots? They are Wemmicks, just like you. What they think about you, Punchinello, does not matter. All that matters is what I think of you, and I think you are very special. Punchinello laughed. Me? Special? Why? I can't walk fast, I can't jump, I can't speak very clear, and I can't sing a song. Why would I matter to you? Eli looked at Punchinello, and he put his hands on the small wooden shoulders, and he spoke very slowly. Now, we changed the story, in case you're wondering, because as much as I like Max Lucado, I don't think he really nailed it. And so I put in my own theology here, okay? And I just wrote it in there in ink. So feel free to change your books too. And so I feel like when Punchinello said, why do I matter to you? I believe Eli said, because of who you are, because you are mine, and because I am in you and you are in me. You are my child, and you are very special, and that is why you matter to me. Punchinello had never heard anyone look at him like this or say anything like this to him, and he didn't know what to say back. So, every day I've been hoping that you would come, Eli said, because Punchinello says, I came because I met someone who didn't have any marks at all. She had no stars and no dots. And Eli laughed and he said, oh, you must have met Lucia. And he goes, but how do the dots not stick? And I love that the maker said, because Lucia has decided that what I think is more important than what others think. The stickers only stick if you let them. What? Punchinello exclaimed. The stickers only matter if they mean more to you than my love for you. And Punchinello couldn't believe it. And then he goes, I'm not sure I understand. I love that part. I'm not sure I understand. Eli smiled and he said, well, it might take some time. For now, just come and be with me every day and let me remind you, and again, I've changed this, how much I care. I believe Eli said, come to me every day and let me remind you who you are. And that's why you matter. And so Punchinello started leaving. And Kaden, you want to read that last part? That last part? Because we had a good conversation about this in the car.
Okay.
Yep.
Punchinello didn't stop, but in his heart he thought, I think he really means it. And when he did, a dot fell to the ground.
Great job. Great job. Now, Kaden and I had a great discussion. Do you want to talk about our discussion in the car on the way here?
No, I forgot it.
About why did only one dot fall off?
Because it's a process.
Yeah. So say it again.
It's a process.
Yep. We talked about why didn't all the dots fall off at one time? And as Kaden and I had the discussion, we realized we think they didn't all fall off at one time because we think it's a process in coming to believe and be in agreement with who you are. And as you do